Hello everyone, so I would like to share with you all a new product I've been working on. So this is a field oriented control motor controller for electric bikes and small scooters, and it's based on the Vesc project. So I have designed this PCB entirely by myself, apart from a little bit of help here and there on the Endless Sphere forum. So it's based on circuit diagrams from the Vesc project, and the Vesc is designed by Benjamin Vedder. I aim to have this retailing for about £90, but hopefully less, and it's meant to be very compact, so it fits inside a little project box just like this, 112 by 60 by 31 millimeters, so it'll be nice and waterproof as well. All the cables will come out through glands. So it's a field oriented control motor controller is pretty much what's in most electric cars. So I've designed this controller much like the one that you would find in an electric car, because it needs 12 volts to actually turn on and work properly. So you supply it with 12 volts, that then powers up all the electronics on the board. I've also done that to try and keep the costs down, because the design schematics actually show switching regulators to be used, and if I'd used the switching regulators I wouldn't have been able to fit everything on the board, at least not on just one side, so it wouldn't have worked. So I'm just using two linear regulators supplied with 12 volts, that powers everything on the board, and then you supply, I think, a maximum of 60 volts for the motor, but I'm not totally sure on what the maximum voltage is. I'm sure on the design it's 75 volts, but I think some of these components here are actually rated 60 volts, so I reckon this should only be run on a 12S LiPo, well, 12 cell lithium ion, maybe 13, and it'll probably be able to manage 25 to 30 amps continuously, provided it's mounted on that, not inside a box. It's actually outside, the aluminium box is outside in the airflow. So that's a very, very feature rich controller. I was using KT motor controllers, and unfortunately they've been just absolutely garbage in my experience, especially with the KT open source firmware, uh, which is on the Endless Sphere forum. I've tried using it and I've never been able to get it to work properly. This isn't the whole configuration. You actually have to trawl through the forum, edit lines of code, recompile the firmware again and again until it eventually works. It's a nightmare to set up. In my experience, the regenerative braking's been utter garbage, and I've never been able to fix it. The motor makes a sort of whirring sound in it. I get about 1 amp back into the battery, and I've had so many other issues with it. I just wouldn't recommend KT motor controllers with this open source firmware on them at all. If you really want a decent controller, just buy a Vesc. There are other Vescs available, but they're extremely expensive, but they're still definitely worth getting. So Vesc, I have used one that was a sort of cheap Chinese implementation that used the DRV chips. The ones that use the DRV chips you should probably stay away from, as I've read on the forum that the DRV chips quite often just fail. So this one doesn't use them. It's using uh, independent current sense amplifiers and gate drivers and all that good stuff. So as you can see, the Vesc tool, it's extremely advanced, at least that when you look at it for the first time, but there's options in here to automatically set up your motor. It's really not that difficult to use at all, and you can set your throttle curves, like your throttle response, regenerative braking current. There's so much you can change in here. It's an absolutely amazing tool when the controller I had actually worked, but I returned it and got a full refund, so that's okay. But yeah, if you are wanting a motor controller for an electric bike, Vesc is definitely the way to go, in my opinion. So I just need to get these PCBs manufactured. Hopefully I'll be able to get the SMT assembly service from GLC PCB to put that microcontroller chip on the board for me, because even with a hot air station I would really struggle to solder that, although I maybe could if I ordered the stencils. I'm not sure what the best course of action yet is. So I just need to rename all the components, like the prefixes, the numbers are actually wrong. I've not sorted that out yet, so I need to get all the component names sorted out, and I may just sell the PCBs on their own with a bag of parts so that people can assemble these themselves at a reduced price or whatever, but I'm not totally sure yet. I'm going to have to test the design, make sure it works, and hopefully then, well, it might be in a few months time, if it does work, then that's brilliant. I'll get it on the market to you guys, and you'll have a good little controller for your bikes.